Hello my schoolers, you are welcome to my school YouTube channel and my name is Frank. In today's video we shall be tackling JAMB CBT mathematics past question for the year 2007. So relax, do not go anywhere and we'll be right back. You are welcome back to my school YouTube channel. In today's video, we shall be solving question 26 to 50. So let's kick off with question 26. Evaluate 0.5652 square minus 0.4375 square over 0.04. Correct to three significant figures. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So this is what we're actually given that we are asked to evaluate. Okay, so here from what you can see here, we have to apply, or we have to use difference of two square. Okay, so in that case we'll be having 0.5652 minus 0.4375 in one bracket, then 0.5652 minus 0.4375 in another bracket over 0.04. Let's use the first part as plus and let's use the second part as minus. It doesn't really matter actually. Okay, I just want the first part, the first bracket, to be the plus, while the second bracket the minus. Okay, but it doesn't matter whether it is the first bracket that is carrying the minus or the other one. It doesn't matter. Okay, so if we add what we have here in the first bracket, we are going to be having something like 1.00, maybe 23. Okay, so in that case we just take 1. Okay, then if we subtract here, we are going to be having 0.1250. Okay, of course, if we multiply this, we will still be having 0.1250 over 0.04. Okay, so let's still put the 0.04 here. Okay, so now the next thing is for us to clear the decimal point at the denominator, right? And if you check very well, the denominator is to 2 decimal places. So that means we are going to be multiplying by 100. Okay, so if we multiply the denominator by 100, we also do the same thing to the numerator. So if we multiply the numerator by 100, we'll be having 12.50, and here we'll be having 4. Okay, so we divide. So 4 here is 1, 4 here is going to be 3, then point. So 4 into 5 is 1, remainder 1, right? So that one we'll put it behind 0, so that becomes 10. So 4 into 10, that will be 2, okay, remainder 2. So that 2 we add 0 to it and divide it by 4. So in that case, we have 20 divided by 4. That will be equals to 5. Okay, but remember that we are asked to correct this to three significant figure. Okay, so to three significant figure, we'll be having 3.13. Okay, so this is to 3 SF. Okay, so the answer to this question is 3.13 to 3 significant figure. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 3.13. Question 27. Find the value of s for which 2 bracket open 3 raised to power 2s minus 1 bracket close is equals to 162. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So first thing first is for us to isolate what we have in the bracket, okay, because of the nature of how the question was asked. So to do that, we have to divide both sides by 2. So if we divide here by 2, we're having 3 raised to power 2x minus 1 to be equals to, then if we divide 162 by 2, that will be equals to 81, right? So this 81, we'll have to express it in index form such that the base is also equal to 3. So this will be 3 raised to power 2x minus 1, and on this side we'll be having 3 raised to power 4. So if you check very well, the bases are the same. So in that case, we can equate the powers. So that we'll be having 2x minus 1 to be equals to 4, right? So we'll move this one to the other side of the equation since we are looking for the value of x. So that 2s is now equals to 4 plus 1, and that will be equals to 5. So we have 2s to be equals to 5, right? So we divide both sides by the coefficient of s, which is 2. so that s will be equals to 5 all over 2. Okay, so for this question, the value of s is 5 over 2. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 5 over 2. Question 28. Simplify 3 over 5 divided by bracket open 2 over 7 times 4 over 3 divided by 4 over 9 bracket close. So let's move over to the board to simplify this question. So this is the problem that we are asked to simplify. So first thing first is for us to deal with the fractions that are in bracket. Okay, so the fractions that are in bracket is 2 over 7 times 4 over 3. Right, so this we can switch this sign. So here we'll be having times, then we'll be having 9 over 4. Okay, so 4 we cancel out. 4 here is 1, 4 here is 1, 4 here is 1, 3 here is 1, and 3 here is 3. So that at the end of the day, we'll be having 6 over 7. Okay, so this is what we have in brackets. So we'll bring it together with this fraction. So we now have 3 over 5 divided by 6 over 7, right? So we can as well still do the same thing. We keep the first fraction. Okay, change our sign, our division sign here to multiplication. Okay, then switch the second fraction. So we'll be having 7 over 6. So 3 here is 1, 3 here is 2. So that 5 times 2 is equals to 10. And the numerator becomes 1 times 7, which is equals to 7. So at the end of the day, we'll have 7 over 10. Okay, so this is the answer to this fraction, 7 over 10. So let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 7 over 10. Question 29. If log 2 base 10 is equals to x, express log 12.5 base 10 in terms of s. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So in this question, we are asked to simplify log 12.5 base 10 in terms of s, and we are told that log 2 base 10 is equals to s. Okay, so first thing first is for us to remove this this decimal point from the number that is given to us. So to do that, we have to multiply that number by 10 and as well divide it by 10. Okay, so this becomes log 125 all over 10 base 10. Okay, so 125 all over 10 is still the same thing as 12.5. Okay, so remember the laws of logarithm. So if we have this, okay, we can as well rewrite this to be log 125 base 10 minus log 10 base 10. Okay, but remember that log 10 base 10 is equals to 1, right? So let's simplify this part first. So here we'll be having log 5 raised to power 3 base 10, then minus 1, because log 10 base 10 is 1, or when the number and the base is the same, is equals to 1 as far as logarithm is concerned. Okay, so we can rewrite this, we can move this 3 backwards, so that we'll be having 3 log 5 base 10 minus 1. Okay, but if we check this very well, still yet we don't have this log 2 we don't have log 2 base 10. Okay, so we have to do something about this. Okay, but remember that 5 is still the same thing as say 10 divided by 2. Okay, so that we'll be having 3, then let's open bracket. So here we'll be having log 10 over 2 base 10. Okay, so let's leave this, then minus 1. Okay, so this one still remains, right? So if we should apply the law of logarithm here too, so that we'll be having log, then log 10 base 10, then minus log 2 base 10 in bracket minus 1. But remember that log 10 base 10 is equals to 1. So here we'll be having 3 bracket open 1 minus log 2 base 10, then minus 1, which is this, our minus 1. But remember that we are told that log 2 base 10 is equals to x. Okay, so anywhere we see log 2 base 10, we'll replace it with s. So here we'll be having 3 bracket open 1 minus x in bracket minus 1. So let's open up this bracket. So if we open up this bracket, we're having 3 minus 3x, then minus 1. So 3 minus 1, that will be equals to 2, right? So we're having 2 minus 3x, okay? So this is the answer to this question. Now let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 2 minus 3x. Question 30. A man made a profit of 5% when he sold an article for 60,000. How much would he have said the article to make a profit of 26%? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So these are the parameters that are given to us according to this question. Okay, so in order for us to be able to calculate the new selling price, first of all we have to calculate for the initial cost price. Okay, when the man made a profit percent, well, when the man made a profit of 5%. Okay, so to do that is very easy. Now, if we are to use this formula, let's say profit percent is equals to selling price minus cost price all over cost price times 100. We are going to spend a lot of time, okay? But there is a way to do it faster. So, okay, so now, how do we go about it? Now, for us to get the cost price, so this is what we simply do. Now, we increase the percentage profit, okay, by 100, by adding 100% to this. So, the percentage profit now becomes 105%, right? Now, remember that this 105% is the same as 105 over 100%. So, we reverse this 105 over 100% and use it to multiply the selling price, and that will give us the cost price. Okay, so in this case, cost price will be equals to 60,000 times, so we reverse this, so we'll be having 100 over 105. So if we multiply this, approximately we are going to be having 57,000 naira. Okay, we are going to be having approximately 57,000 naira when we take our answer to two significant figure. Okay, so this is what we are going to be having. Now that we now know the cost price, we can now solve for the new selling price when the percentage profit has increased to 26%. So we just do the same thing, exactly the same thing. So we increase this 26% by 100%, and that will be equals to 126%. Now remember that 126% is also equal to 126 over 100. So this 126 over 100, we use it to multiply the cost price, okay, and that will give us the new selling price. So selling price will be equals to 57,000 times 126 all over 100. So two zeros, we take out two zeros for you. So that will be having 570 times 126, okay? And that will be approximately equals to, that is if we take it to two significant figure, that will be equals to 72,000 naira, okay? So the new selling price, okay, for the trader to make a percentage of 26% is equals to 72,000. Okay, so for example, let's say you are given loss percent. It's basically the same thing, but what you do is that you simply minus this the loss percent that is given to you from 100%. Then you do the same thing, your answer will still be correct. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 72,000 naira. Question 31. Given P, set P has the following element: 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and set Q have the following element: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Determine the relationship between P and Q. Okay, so let's look at the options one after the other. So if you look at option A, we are having P intercept Q is equals to 0, so it's equals to empty. So let's look at this. Now, if you look at all the elements in set P and all the elements in set Q, you discover that there's nothing common between them. There's nothing common at all. Okay, so that makes option A true of what they are asking us. Okay, if you check very well, look at all the elements here and look at all the elements here, there's no number that is common, meaning that the union of set P and Q is equals to an empty set. Okay, now if you look at option B, here they are telling us that set P is a subset of set Q. Okay, but if you look at this option very well too, P is not a subset of set Q. Okay, now if you look at option C, they are telling us that Q is a subset of set P. There is nothing like that also. If you look at option D, they are telling us that set P is equals to set Q, and that is not also true. Okay, so the only option that is true, okay, concerning set P and set Q is option A, that P intercept Q is equals to an empty set. Okay, so the answer to this question is option A. Question 32. Evaluate 1011 raised to power 2 in base 2 minus 101 in base 2 raised to power 2. So let's move over to the boards to provide answer to this question. So for some persons to solve this question, they will prefer to convert these values that are given to us in base 2 to base 10. Okay, but for me, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to substitute using the idea of difference of 2 square. Okay, so since I have this, then I'll be having 1011 base 2 plus 1011 in base 2 in one bracket, and 1011 in base 2 minus 101 in base 2 in another bracket. Okay, since what we have here is difference of 2 square, so we have to add these two. So 1011 plus 101 all in base 2. So if we add 1 plus 1 in base 2 is equals to 10. So I'm going to write down 0 and carry 1. Add 1 to this, so I'll be having 10. I'll write down 0 and carry 1. Add 1 to this, I'll still be having 10. So I'll write down 0 and carry 1. Add 1 to this, I'll be having 10. Okay, so here in the first bracket, we already have this to be our answer. Okay, so let's do the same thing for what we have in the second bracket. So for the second bracket, we're having 1011 minus 101, okay, all in base 2. So 1 minus 1 is 0, okay, then 1 minus 0 is definitely 1, okay. Now 0 minus 1 cannot, but remember, since we're operating in base 2, any value we borrow is equals to 2. So if we borrow this one, that one that we borrow is equals to 2. If we add it to 0, then we'll be having 2. Okay, so 2 minus 1, that will be equals to 1 in base 2. So now that we have these two values, it's just for us to multiply them together, because what we have in the first bracket sum up to be equals to 10,000 in base 2. Okay, let me just write it, 10,000 in base 2. Then what we have in the second bracket, when we subtracted, is equals to 110 in base 2. So to get our final answer, we have to multiply what we have in both brackets. So in this case, we'll be having, okay, let me draw a line here. So we'll be having 10,000, okay, I'll be having 10,000 times 110. Remember, everything is in base 2. Okay, so let's multiply out. So 0, we multiply 0 to give us 0, 0 multiply 0, 0, 0 multiply 0, 0, 0 multiply 0, 0, 0 multiply 1 is 0, right? So 1 multiply 0 is 0, 1 multiply 0, 0, 1 multiply 0, 0, 1 multiply 0, 0, and 1 multiply 1 is 1. Okay, then 1 multiply 0 is 0 here. Then 1 multiply 0 is another 0. 1 multiply 0 is another 0. 1 multiply 0, we have 0 here. And 1 multiply 1, that will give us 1. So here we just add to get our final answer. So 0 comes down, another 0 comes down, this comes down, this comes down, this comes down. So here we'll be having 1, and here we'll be having 11. And everything is in base 2. Okay, so this is our final answer, 11000002. Okay, sorry, 110000, all in base 2. Okay, so let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question. Okay, and that is option C, 11, then 50 in base 2. Question 33. If S is equals to all the perfect squares less than 40, Y is equals to all the odd numbers from 1 to 15. Find S intersect Y. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So for such questions such as this, we are not given the element. So it's our responsibility to write out the element. So for S, all the element of S should be, now remember that perfect squares are numbers that when we take their square root, the result is always whole number. Okay, so all the perfect square that is less than 40 will be 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, and 36. Okay, now for set Y, all the odd numbers from 1 to 15 are 1, okay, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. Okay, but we are asked to find X intersect Y, which is the elements that are common between X and Y. So the first element that is common is 1. Then the other element also that is common is 9. Okay, so the intersection of S and Y is just 1 and 9. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 1 and 9. Question 34. Calculate the length of an arc of a circle diameter 14 centimeter which subtends an angle of 90 degrees at the center of the circle. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. Now remember that the length of an arc is more or less like, say, a slice of the circumference of a circle. Okay, so the formula for calculating length of an arc, okay, let's just say length of an arc is equals to theta all over 360 then times 2 pi r. Okay, so here we are giving theta to be equals to 90 degrees, but here we are not giving radius. So but we can get our radius since we are giving diameter to be equals to 14. Okay, so our radius will be diameter divided by 2. Okay, so in that case our radius is equals to 7 centimeters. So here we are going to be using 7. Okay, so here we have 90 over 360 then times 2 times pi, okay, then times 7. Okay, so 0 here, we take out 0. 9 here is 1 and 9 here is 4. Okay, so 2 here is 1, 2 here is 2. So that at the end of the day, we are now having 7 pi all over 2. Okay, since that is centimeters since we are calculating for the length of an arc. So let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question. Mind you, from the options, you can see that the answers is left, or the answers are left in terms of pi. Okay, so that is why our final answer is 7 pi all over 2. Okay, so that makes option A the correct answer to this question. Do you know that you can take practice question with our JAMB simulated CBT past question? All you need to do is to click on the link in the description below, and that will take you to Myschool website. There you will need to download Myschool mobile app for your Android devices and Myschool software for your laptops and computers. Please go ahead and start practicing. Moving on to question 35. If the lines 3y is equals to 4x minus 1 and qy is equals to s plus 3 are parallel to each other, the value of q is, so let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So these are the two lines that are given to us in this question, and we are told that the two lines are parallel to each other. Now remember the condition for parallelism. Okay, parallelism. Okay, so it's m1 is equals to m2. Okay, so but if you look at these questions if you look at this line very well, we have to put them in the slope intercept form. So but remember that the slope intercept form is y is equals to mx plus c. Okay, where m here represent the gradient of the line. Okay, so for each of these lines we have to put them in this form. So to put this line 3y is equals to 4x minus y in this form, we have to make sure that the coefficient of y here is equals to 1. So to do that, we have to divide both sides by 3. We have to divide through by 3. Okay, so that here we'll be having y, then on this other side we'll be having 4 over 3x, then minus 1 over 3. So here we can bring out the gradient of this line. Okay, so here we can see our m1 is equals to 4 over 3. Of course, we do the same thing to the second line, which is qy is equals to s plus 3. So we divide through by q, so that here we'll be having y and here we'll be having x over q then plus 3 over q. So to bring out the gradient here, now remember that the gradient here is equals to 1 over q. Okay, so that our m2 is equals to 1 over q. But remember the condition for parallelism. Okay, m1 is equals to m2. So here our m1 is 4 over 3. So let me just rewrite it again. m1 is equals to m2. But remember our m1 is equals to 4 over 3, and this should be equals to our m2, which is 1 over q. Okay, so if we are given two fractions that are equal to each other and there's any unknown there that we are asked to find, we just cross multiply in order to get the value of that unknown. Okay, so if we cross multiply, we're having 4q to be equals to 3. Since we are looking for q, we have to divide both sides by the coefficient of q, which is 4 in this case. Okay, so that q is equals to 3 over 4. Okay, so the value of q is equals to 3 over 4. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 3 over 4. I believe you are enjoying this video content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos. Question 36. In the parallelogram PQRS above, find angle SQR. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So this is the parallelogram that is given to us, and we are asked to find SQR. Okay, so to do this, there are many ways we can do it. It just depends on how you look at it. Okay, but first of all, let's get the value of angle R. Okay, let's get the value of the angle that is here. Now, if you look at this angle arrow, you know that it corresponds to angle X. Okay, so I'm just being specific now. I'm saying angle X is equals to angle arrow. Okay, so that this is equals to 30 degrees. And the reason for that is because they are corresponding angle. Okay, they are corresponding angles. So this place now equals to 30 degrees. Okay, now remember, if you look at this place, here is 50, and if you look at here, they are vertically opposite. And remember that vertically opposite angles are equal. Okay, so that also makes here to be equals to 50 degrees. Okay, now remember your Z angle. Okay, alternate angles. Remember the alternate angles too are equal. So if you draw this line like this from here to this part, this way you'll be having your Z angle. So the angle here is equal to the angle here. Now take note of this. It's equal to the angle here. And what is the reason? Alternate angles are equal. So this place is also equal to 30 degrees. Okay, but in this question, we are actually looking for here. Now remember that what we have here is actually sum of angle on a straight line. This 30 degrees and this 50 degrees, and what we are looking for here, let's call it as they are all in straight line. Okay, and remember that the sum of angles on a straight line is equals to 180. So if we add 50 to 30, that will be equals to 80. So we are now having 80 degrees plus S is equals to 180. The reason is because sum of angles on a straight line is equals to 180. Now we are looking for S, which is the angle Q that we actually asked to calculate. Okay, so it's just for us to move our 180 to the other side of the equation so that S can be on its own. So that S now is now equal to 180 minus 80, and that will be equals to 100 degrees. Okay, so the value of angle Q is actually equals to 100 degrees. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 100 degrees. Question 37. The volume of a hemispherical bowl is 718 whole number 2/3. Find its radius. So let's move over to the box to provide answer to this question. Now remember that a hemisphere is half of a sphere, right? And we know that the volume of hemisphere, or the volume of a sphere, is equals to 4/3 pi r cube. So for hemisphere, it will now be 1/2 times 4/3 pi r cube. And this will be equals to 2/3 pi r cube. Okay, so this is the formula for calculating the volume of a hemisphere. But remember, in this question, we are given the volume of the hemisphere that we should calculate for the radius. Okay, so the whole thing here will be equals to 2/3 pi r cube will be equals to 718 whole number 2/3. So we have to change this mixed fraction to an improper fraction by using 3 to multiply 718, then we add 2 to the result. Okay, so that here we'll be having 2/3 pi r cube to be equals to 2156 all over 3. So the next thing is for us to multiply 2 by 3 so that we can remove these 3's from the denominators. Okay, so if we multiply here by 3, we also multiply this side 2 by 3. So 3 will take out 3. Okay, so that we'll be having 2 pi r cube to be equals to 2156. So we have to divide both sides by 2 since we are looking to isolate r, right? So if we divide 2 by 2, we'll be having pi r cube to be equals to, okay, so if we divide by 2, we'll be having 10, then 78. Of course, 2 into 21 is going to give us 10, remainder 1. So that one will put it behind 15. So 2 into 15 is going to give us 7. Then remainder 1, that one will put it behind 6, then 2 into 16 is going to give us 8. Then the next thing is for us to divide through by pi. Okay, so if we divide through by pi, we'll be having r raised to power 3 to be equals to 1078 divided by pi. But remember that pi is 22 all over 7. Okay, so that r cube is equals to 1078 then times 7 all over 22. Okay, so 22 here is going to give us 1, 22 here is going to give us 49. Okay, so that arrow cube is equals to 49 times 7, and that will give us 343. Okay, now remember that we are looking for the value of arrow, not arrow cube. So in order to kill off this cube, we have to take the cube root of both sides. So if we take the cube root of arrow cube, that will be equals to arrow, and if we take the cube root of 343, and that will be equals to 7. Okay, so the radius of the hemispherical bowl is equals to 7, maybe 7 centimeter or 7.0 centimeter at the same. Okay, so let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 7.0 centimeters. Question 38. A particle P moves between points X and T such that angle SPT is always constant of ST constant. Find the locus of P. Okay, so the answer to this question is option A. Okay, it is a semicircle with ST as diameter. Okay, so if a particle B moves such that the angle SPT is constant while ST is fixed, okay, it traces out a circular path, and the locus of P is a semicircle. And the reason for that is because the point on the circle subtended by the line segment ST maintains that circle. Okay, so that makes option A the correct answer to this question. It is a semicircle with ST as diameter. Question 39. If the lines 2y minus ks plus 2 is equals to 0 and y plus s minus k over 2 is equals to 0 intersect at 1 minus 2, find the value of k. So what you need to take note of here is that this point of intersection, okay, at 1 minus 2 simply implies that s is equals to 1 and y equals to minus 2. So we are going to substitute these two values for x and y into these lines, okay, to get a simultaneous equation, which we will have to solve together, to solve simultaneously to get the value of k. Okay, so let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So the intercept 1 and minus 2 implies that s is equals to 1 and y is equals to minus 2. So anywhere we see x in any of the line, we replace it with 1, and anywhere we see y in any of the line, we replace it with minus 2, so that we can get the value of k. Okay, so let's start with the first line. So 2y minus kx plus 2 is equals to 0. So we are going to replace this with 2 minus 2. So you'll be having 2 bracket minus 2, then minus k, then 1 plus 2 is equals to 0. So this will give us minus 4, then minus k plus 2 is equals to 0. Okay, so minus 4 plus 2 is going to give us minus 2 minus k is equals to 0. So if we move k to the other side, we'll be having k to be equals to minus 2. So let's do it for the second line and see. So for the second line, we have y plus x minus k all over 2 is equals to 0. So remember, our y is equals to minus 2, then plus x is 1, then minus k all over 2 is equals to 0. So minus 2 plus 1 is going to give us minus 1, then minus k all over 2 is equals to 0. So we can multiply through, because this is also over 1, so we can multiply through by 2. So if we multiply here by 2, we'll be having minus 2, then here we're having just minus k to be equals to 0, because 2 times 0 is actually 0. Then if we move k to the other side of the equation, we'll be having k to be also equals to minus 2. Okay, so we can say that the value of k is equals to minus 2. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, minus 2. Question 40. A man 40 meters from the foot of a tower observes the angle of elevation of the tower to be 30 degrees. Determine the height of the tower. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So questions on elevation are usually interpreted with drawing. Okay, so let's assume this to be the tower, and we are told that a man is from the foot of the tower 40 centimeters, right? And the angle of elevation, okay, is equals to 30 degrees, that we should calculate the height of the tower. Okay, so this is the tower, and we are asked to calculate for the height of the tower. So once you are done interpreting it with a diagram to solve it, becomes very, very easy. So here we just have to apply SOHCAHTOA. Okay, we have to use SOHCAHTOA to determine the height of the tower. So in this case, we have opposite over adjacent, so we'll be using tan. So here we'll be using tan theta, which is equals to opposite over adjacent. Why? Because in this question, we are given opposite and we are given adjacent. So that's why we are using tan. So we just substitute our values. So here we'll be having tan 30 is equals to h all over a, right? Okay, h all over 40, right? But remember that tan 30 is equals to 1 over root 3. Okay, so you'll be having 1 over root 3 is equals to h all over 40. So we cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we're having h root 3 to be equals to 40. So we have to divide both sides by root 3, so that h is equals to 40 divided by root 3. Of course, we can't leave this like this, so we have to rationalize by multiplying both the denominator and the numerator by root 3. Okay, so multiply here by root 3 and also multiply here by root 3, so that we'll be having 40 root 3 all over 3. Okay, so the height of the tower is 40 root 3 all over root 3 meters. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 40 root 3 all over 3 meters. Question 41. Find the locus of points equidistant from two straight lines. Y minus 5 is equals to 0 and y minus 3 is equals to 0. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So we are asked to calculate the locus of a point equidistant for two straight lines. Y minus 5 is equals to 0 and y minus 3 is equals to 0. So y minus 5 is still the same thing as say y is equals to 5. So what that means is that that straight line actually cut the y-axis, okay? Actually cut the y-axis at 0.5. Okay, cut through it at 0.5. Y for this cut the line at 0.3. Okay, so the line equidistant, okay, from two parallel lines is exactly the line halfway between these two lines. Okay, so the midpoint of these two lines will be equals to 5 plus 3 divided by 2, and that will be equals to 4. Okay, and that will be equals to 4. So here we are saying y is equals to 4. Of course, this y is equals to 4 can as well be rewritten as y minus 4 is equals to 0. So this is the line that is equidistant from the two lines, okay, that is given to us in this question. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, y minus 4 is equals to 0. Question 42. What is the value of k if the midpoint of the line joining 1 minus k comma minus 4 in bracket and 2 comma k plus 1 in bracket is minus k comma k in bracket? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. Now remember that the formula for calculating the midpoint of any given line, okay, is given as x1 plus x2 divided by 2, or y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay, so for this question we are given the values that we should calculate for the value of k. So remember that our 1 minus k here represents x1, and this minus 4 here represents y1. Okay, and 2 here represents x2, and k plus 1 here represents y2, right? And these are their respective values for x. Okay, let's call it s naught, and this is for y naught. So we just use any of them. If we use any of them, our answer will still be the same. So let's use the one for x. Okay, so x1 plus x2 all over 2. We are told in this question that it is equals to minus k. Okay, so let's substitute for these values now. So our S1 is 1 minus k, then plus 2 over 2 is equals to minus k. So first thing first, let's cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we'll be having minus 2k to be equals to, of course, these two will be added to each other, so that we'll be having 3 minus k. Okay, this is 1 plus 2, that will be equals to 3. Then our minus k still remains. So it's just for us to collect like terms. So if I move this to this side, I'll be having minus 2k plus k is equals to 3. Of course, minus 2k plus k is the same thing as minus k. Okay, and this is equals to 3. We are looking for k, not minus k. So we divide both sides, or we multiply through by minus 1, so that k is equals to minus 3. Okay, so let's try it for when we use y1 plus y2. Okay, and see if our answer or the value for k will also be equals to minus 3. Okay, so for y, we have y1 plus y2 all over 2 is equals to k, right? Now remember, our y1 is minus 4, then plus our y2 is k plus 1 all over 2. Okay, is equals to k. So we just cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we'll be having 2k to be equals to, so let's simplify this part. So if we simplify this part, we'll be having minus 4 plus 1, that will be minus 3. So we'll be having minus 3 plus k. Okay, we're having minus 3 plus k. So the next thing is just for us to collect like terms. So if I move this plus k to this side, I'll be having 2k minus k, and that is equals to minus 3, right? So 2k minus k, that will be equals to k, right? And this k is equals to minus 3, which is the same as the value that we got when we use the one for x. Okay, so the value of k is equals to minus 3. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, minus 3. Question 43. Find the size of each exterior angle of a regular octagon. Okay, so the word octagon here implies 8-sided polygon. So we already know the number of sides, right? And remember that the sum of angles of exterior angles of a regular polygon is equals to 360. Now, since we know the number of sides to be equals to 8 and we are looking for the size of one of the angle, what we simply do is just to use the number of sides to divide the sum of the total angle. So in this case, we'll be having 360 divided by 8, okay? And that will be equals to 45 degrees. So the size of each interior angle of a regular octagon is equals to 45 degrees. And that makes option B the correct answer to this question. Question 44. Find the value of tan 60 degree minus tan 30 degrees over tan 60 degrees plus tan 30 degrees. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. Now remember that these 60 and 30 degrees, they are all special angles, okay? So let's assume that we don't really know what their value is. So how can we get their values, okay? So to get their values, just for us to draw an equilateral triangle. Of course, an equilateral triangle, all the sides are equal. So in this case, we assume that all the sides are equal to 2. Okay, 2 units. So here is 2, this side is 2, and this side is 2, right? Remember that each of the angles too is also equals to 60 degrees, okay, and 60 degrees. So we share here into 2. So once we share here into 2, that means each part here is equals to 30 degrees, and here is also equals to 30 degrees, right? But we can take out a part here. So let's take out just this first part. Okay, so here is, of course, since we share this line into 2, that means here is 1, here is 1. So this is 1, here is 2, here is our 30 degrees, and here is also our 60 degrees. Okay, so we need to get this part. Now, for us to get this part, we have to apply Pythagoras theorem. So if we apply Pythagoras theorem here, we'll be having here this part should be equals to root 3. So if we apply the idea of SOHCAHTOA, okay, we can actually easily get the value of tan 30 and tan 60. Now remember that tan theta is equals to opposite over adjacent. So let's say we are looking for tan 30 now, since we don't know. Let's assume that we don't know. So here we'll be having our opposite here is 1, and our adjacent in this case is root 3, and not here. This is our hypotenuse because it is the side that is facing the angle 90. Okay, so you'll be having root 3. So that means our tan 30 equals to root 3. okay? Then we can as well do the same thing for tan 60 degrees. So in case of tan 60 degree, here is our opposite, right? Here is our opposite, and this part becomes our adjacent, so that our tan 60 is the same thing as, say, root 3 all over 1, which is the same as root 3. Okay, so now we know these values, so we just substitute it into what is given to us. So let's substitute it. So we know our tan 60, sorry, is equals to root 3, while our tan 30 is equals to 1 over root 3. Then divided by our tan 30, our tan 60 is root 3, then plus our tan 30, which is 1 over root 3. Okay, so we just solve this one after the other. First of all, let's deal with the numerator. Right? So the numerator will have root 3 over 1 minus 1 over root 3. So in this case, we just solve it like normal fraction, right? So the LCM here is actually root 3. Okay, so 1 into root 3 is still root 3. Root 3 times root 3, that will be equals to 3. Root 3 divided by root 3, that will be equals to 1. So 1 times 1 will give us 1. So that at the end of the day, we'll have 2 all over root 3. So let's rationalize this. So if we rationalize this, we'll be multiplying the numerator by root 3 and also multiplying the denominator by root 3. So that at the end of the day, we'll have 2 root 3 all over 3. Okay, for the numerator. So if we do the same thing for the denominator, I think there will be not too much change. Okay, so the only difference is that instead of subtracting here, we are going to add. Okay, so that our denominator will now be equals to 4 root 3 all over 3. Okay, so if we bring those two together, okay, let me put it here. So if we bring those two together, we'll be having 2 root 3 all over 3, then divided by 4 root 3 all over root 3. Okay, but remember that what we have here still implies 2 root 3 all over 3 divided by 4 root 3 all over 3. So this is just two fractions dividing each other. So we keep the first fraction 2 root 3 all over 3, then times 3 all over 4 root 3. Okay. So in this case, of course, 3 can take out 3, right? Then root 3 as well can take out root 3. So 2 here is 1 and 2 here is 2. So that at the end of the day, we have our answer to be equals to 1 over 2. So let's return to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 1 over 2. Do you have any question to ask? Please feel free to ask your question by clicking on the link in the description below, and that will take you to my school website. There you can ask all your questions, and our army of solution providers will provide answers to all your questions within a short period of time. Moving on to question 45. The area of a square is 144 square centimeters. Find the length of the diagonal. So let's move over to the boards to provide answer to this question. So this is a square. What you must know about a square is that all the sides of a square are equal, right? But in this question, we don't know the value of the sides, but we are given the area. Now remember that area of a square, okay, area of a square is equals to S square, okay, where X represents the size of the side. Okay, so if here is 114, then we can easily get the area of the side by taking the square root of both sides. So that S is equals to the square root of 144, and that is equals to 12 centimeters, right? So we are saying here is 12 centimeters, here is 12 centimeters, here is 12 centimeters, and here is also 12 centimeters. Remember, all the sides of a square are equal. But we are asked to calculate for the diagonal, which is this line, okay? Which is this line. So we can just take out this right angle triangle here, which is this. So here is 12 and here is also 12. So in this case, we can apply Pythagoras theorem, right? And remember Pythagoras theorem, the square of the hypotenuse is equals to the square of the opposite plus the square of the adjacent, right? So since we are looking for the hypotenuse, so our hy square is equals to 12 squared plus 12 squared, okay? So this will be equals to 144 plus 144, right? So if we add these two together, we'll be having 288, right? Now our h, the hypotenuse, which is the diagonal of the square, in this case we have to take the square root of both sides. So if we take the square root of both sides, then the length of the hypotenuse now becomes the square root of 288. Okay, but remember that 288 is still equal to 144 then times root 144 times root 2. Okay, and remember that root 144 is the same thing as 12. So at the end of the day, the length of the diagonal is equal to 12 root 2 centimeter. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 12 root 2 centimeters. Do you have better step or explanation to any of these questions? If yes, please go to the comment section below to comment the question number and the solution you wish to share. Question 46. If y is equals to 1 plus x in bracket square, find the y, the s. Of course, we can solve this without even writing anything on the board, okay? But we'll move over to the board to provide answer for this or to this question because of those who didn't take further maths in their secondary school. And if there's any of these mathematics topics that you are having issue with, then you should subscribe to our mathematics topic by topic video lesson. Okay, you can do that by clicking on the link in the description below, and that will take you to my school website. There you have to subscribe to learn about these topics. Okay, so let's provide answer to this. So to do this, we will apply the chain rule, right? So of course this is y is equals to, in bracket, 1 plus x squared, right? So we say let u be equals to what we have inside the bracket. Okay, so that will be equals to 1 plus x, right? So in this case we are saying our y is equals to u raised to power 2, because we said everything inside the bracket be equals to u, right? So first of all, we differentiate this with respect to u. Okay, so here we're having the y, the u, okay, and this will be equals to 2u, right? So we just use this to multiply u and minus 1 from here. So the power of u will become 1. Okay, then the next is for us to differentiate u with respect to x. So here we're having the u, the x. And if we differentiate this, if we differentiate x, that will be equals to 1, right? Now, our dy du, okay, our dy ds, sorry, will be equals to dy du times du dx, okay? So, our du can cancel out du, so that we'll be having dy ds, which is equals to our dy ds. But remember, our dy ds, of course, you are not supposed to cancel, okay? But I just did that to tell you that if we multiply this together, it will return us back to this, okay? So, but remember that our dy du is equals to 2u, okay? So here we have 2u, then times our du dx is equals to 1, okay? But remember that our u is equals to 1 plus x. Of course, here we'll be having 2 bracket 1 plus x, okay? So if we are to open this bracket, we're having 2 plus 2s, okay? Probably perhaps something like that. But if we don't have it, this and this are still the same, okay? So let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question. Okay, it was even multiplied, and that is option B, 2 plus 2x. Question 47. The sum of the ages of Musa and Lawal is 28 years. After sharing a certain sum of money in the ratio of their ages, Musa gets 600 naira and Lawal gets 800 naira. How old is Lawal? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So let M represent the age of Musa, okay, and L represent the age of Lawal. So we are told that the sum of their ages, Musa's age plus Lawal's age, is equals to 28 years, right? And we are told that they shared money in the ratio of their ages. So Musa ratio Lawal will be equals to the amount Musa received. Musa received 600 and Lawal received 800. So 2 zeros can cancel out 2 zeros under, so that we have M over L is equals to, of course, we can as well see reduce. 2 here is 3 and 2 here is 4. Okay, so we now have 3 all over 4, right? Now, we can make m the subject of formula here. So if we make m the subject of formula here, we will have m to be equals to 3l all over 4. So why are we making m the subject of formula is because we are solving for Mozart's age. Okay, so that is the best thing to do. Now remember that we are told that the sum of their ages is equals to 28 years, right? Since m is equals to 3l over 4, so anywhere we see m here, we replace it with 3l all over 4. So that we'll be having 3l all over 4, then plus l is equals to 28. Okay, so this is also over 1, it doesn't change anything. So we can multiply through by 4. Okay, if we multiply through by 4, we'll be having 3l plus 4l to be equals to 28 times 4. Okay, so if we add this together, since they are like terms, we'll be having 7l is equals to 28 times 4. So we divide both sides by 7 since we are looking for the value of l. So l is now equals to 28 times 4 divided by 7. So 7 here is 1 and 7 here is 4. Okay, so 4 times 4 will be equals to 16. So that Lawa's age, which we are asked to find, is equals to 16 years. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 16 years. Question 48. The cumulative frequency for 5 is less than or equals to x is less than or equals to 12 from the distribution above is, so it's just for us to trace. Okay, from 5 we trace it vertically upward, then once we touch the curve, then we trace it horizontally to the vertical axis, which represent the cumulative frequency. Okay, so if we are to start from 5, so this is where our 5 is. So if we trace it up, okay, to meet the curve, then we trace it horizontally to the vertical axis, we'll be having 10. Okay, so here we'll have 10 plus, now we do the same thing for 6. So if we trace it up until it meets the curve, then we trace it horizontally to the vertical axis, we'll be having plus 12. Now remember that the vertical axis represents the cumulative frequency, okay, while the horizontal axis represents the value of x. Okay, so from here, if we trace up again, okay, and we trace it horizontally until we get to the cumulative frequency, we'll be having another plus 10. Then from here again, we trace, okay, here we trace, then we trace it horizontally, we'll be having plus 8. Then from here, we trace again, we'll be having plus 6. Then from here, we trace again until we get to this place, we'll be having plus 8. Then from here, we move up again and we trace it horizontally and we're having plus 10. Then from here, because they said between, so definitely what we are doing here is the value of s is between 5 and 12, okay, both 5 and 12 inclusive. So from here, if we trace, we'll be having this, and we trace it down, we'll be having plus 8. Okay, so if we add all these values together, our answer will be equals to 72. Okay, so that makes option D the correct answer to this question. Question 49. So we are given these two matrices, we are asked to evaluate it. Okay, so let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So these are the matrices that are given to us with their elements. So here we have to perform scalar multiplication first. Okay, so 2 bracket open minus 2, 3, 4, minus 1. So we are going to multiply through by 2. So 2 times this will give us minus 4. 2 times 4 will give us 8. 2 times 3 will give us 6. And 2 times minus 1 will give us minus 2. So we are going to add this matrix to this. So here we have 3 minus 2 minus 7 and 5. Then plus minus 4, 6, 8, and minus 2. Okay, so let's add. Okay, so we are going to add the first element here on the first column to the first element also here on the first column. So here we're having 3 plus minus 4. Okay, that will be equals to minus 1. So let's do the same thing to this. Minus 2 plus 8, that will be equals to 6. Okay, then here minus 7 plus 6, that will be equals to minus 1, and here 5 plus minus 2, that will be equals to 3. Okay, so the answer to this question is minus 1, 6, minus 1, and 3. Okay, so let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A. Okay, minus 1 and 6, then minus 1 and 3. Question 50. If f of s is equals to 3s minus 2i, and p is equals to matrix P has this element, and I is 2 times 2 identity matrix, evaluate f of p. Okay, so let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. Okay, so we are told that f of s is equals to 3s minus 2i, where I here is an identity element. And remember, an identity element has 1, 0, 0, 1 as its element, right? So we are asked to find f of p. So anywhere we see x, we are to replace it with p. Okay, so you will be having f of p is equals to 3 brackets, and p has this element 2, minus 1, 1, and 0, then minus 2 times the identity element. Okay, so 2 brackets 1, 0, 0, and 1. So first of all, let's perform this scalar multiplication first, then before we now get our final answer. So 3 times 2, that will be 6. Then 3 times 1, that will be 3. Then 3 times minus 1, that will be minus 3. Then 3 times 0, that will be 0. So here we have our minus. Then we just use 2 to multiply everything here, because in this question, we're actually looking for 3x minus 2i. Okay, so let's get our 2i. So our 2i will be 2, 0, then 0, then 2. Okay, so in this case, we can now subtract. So if we subtract, the resulting matrix will be equals to 6 minus 2, that will be 4. Then 3 minus 0, that will be 3. Then minus 3 minus 0, that will be minus 3. And 0 minus 2, that will be minus 2. Okay, so this is the resulting matrix. So let's move over to the board to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 4, 3, minus 3, minus 2. I believe you enjoyed this video content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos.